In the most in-depth social experiment ever conducted in Ark, I placed 300 players in the middle of a huge map to simulate a realistic civilization. With no rules, no guidelines, and no outside help, these players were free to do whatever they wanted. Sit back and relax as politics unfold during daily peace meetings. Conflicts erupt across nations, hidden agendas become exposed to the public, and governments with different ideologies form, all with the same goal of ruling the server. Each player was granted a single life, meaning if they were to die, they would remain dead forever. Throughout the course of this 8-day event, hosted for 2 to 3 hours a day, I'll reveal key pieces of confidential information that very few players were aware of. Anyway, it looks like it's time to blow the gates and release the players. I proudly present to you the 300-player civilization experiment in Ark Survival Ascended. For the first day of the experiment, everyone is going to be locked in PvE mode, meaning no players can attack each other. Anyway, let's take a look at our first team, Apex Dawn. This is one of the largest groups on the server, represented by the size of their marker on the map. Apex had decided to set up their base on the coast next to the redwoods, and all of their players were united by a shared vision for a large coastal society governed by elected council members.
We're gonna try and maintain peaceful relations among everyone.
However, all was not peaceful, because there was a man named Big Nut inside Apex's base who had travelled with them from the start of the event on their own boats, and he was now inside their base stealing literally all of Apex's loot. And because it was PvE, the players simply couldn't do anything about it.
He just took all of our narcotics.
Dude, hey, don't let him leave.
Now Big Nut was literally stuck inside their base and he couldn't escape. They would have to figure out what to do with him.
Here's the plan. We're gonna throw a gas grenade in there, knock him out, then we're gonna roast him on a fire, kill him, and then it's done.
And after hearing this plan, which technically could work, Big Nut decided to go into negotiations with them.
Okay, I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not doing it again.
Big Nut, I'm letting you know right now, if we see you around, you're dying again. You're dying, like.
For some reason, they let him go, and you're gonna find out later why this was the biggest mistake Apex had ever made. We go to our second group called the Albert's Marauders, and this is a tribe that had set up a small starter base, again next to the redwoods. They were a small group, and even though it was PvE, they still found ways to torment people.
They could kill an harvest. Harvest real quick.
After taking someone's kill, they then began knocking out a level 135 Thyla with clubs.
Smash it! Smash!
Anyway, it wasn't long before this Thyla was somehow knocked out and they could begin heading over to their real base location. Albert planned to set up inside a ravine and they would make a, what they called, bandit hideout.
This shit off, bro. That is embarrassing, bro.
He looks like a fucking freak, bro.
He didn't wear
It looks like fucking pajamas, dude.
Welcome to the International Peace Federation, or the IPF. They were a small group that established a modest starter base with a massive foundation perched atop a waterfall on the floating island. Literally all of their players were focused on building it first, and I had no clue what their plans were, so I approached their leaders Powerpoof and Swanky Orc for answers.
What are you guys doing on the floating island? What's this foundation that you're building?
We're building a big meeting building.
A meeting building?
Yeah. So we're going to hold meetings every day at the end of each day, and we're basically going to go over what happened, you know?
So we're going to moderate the meetings like they're doing like Westminster and try and keep it controlled and under wraps.
Moving on from the IPF, I welcome you to Her Majesty's Navy, a formidable group of highly organised individuals who set up their base on a small island in the top right corner of the map. Their mission would be to dominate the waters and take out any pirates with naval superiority.
Well, we're going to sort of create a port at the top right, and we'll be doing trading and stuff.
Her Majesty's government operated as a constitutional monarchy. Despite not having an actual queen, they elected a prime minister. The role was held by Clack Knight, a charismatic leader whose eloquence and vision garnered the tribe's trust and even loyalty. Let's move on to another maritime nation, the Wayfarers. They were a sizable group, comparing to Apex Dawn and a few others. The Wayfarers had settled in the most isolated area of the map.
Bro, the Megalodons, they fucking ruined everything.
This very sizable group used their manpower to build a grand base with a dock, and even they began building a church. Next, we turn our attention to the Black Lotus Legion, a very large faction, nearly as big as Apex Dawn. They established their base very close to Spawn Island, and they welcomed everyone with open arms. Their leader was an Irishman named Mr. Fanny Flutters, a self-proclaimed entrepreneur. His plan was to construct an amusement park open to everyone. He would run it as a business, and all Mr. Flutters needed was for his group to follow his lead and get him the stuff he needed. While all tribes had been busy gathering resources and exploring the land, the International Peace Federation had been very busy at work. They had contacted nearly every leader from all tribes around the map and asked for a global meeting to be held. The IPF promised they would have smooth negotiations and an opportunity for leaders to introduce their nations. But as the leaders are getting prepared, quickly we're going to look at a few more tribes. Here is a small group named the Alcoholic Hitmen. They established their base on a fortified outpost rock, and their plan was to operate as hitmen for hire. Next, we visit the Silly Pirates, an exceptionally peaceful group with a simple goal: tame whales and give people whale rides, as well as mass-produce beer to sell to other nations for a fair price. We move to a religious group known as Winterfell. They had their base set up on a boat nearly the whole of day one. Winterfell was led by a figure named Father Wulfric.
I am Father Wulfric,
a holy priest in the eyes of his followers. And this group followed a unique religion centered around a deity named Smart. According to their beliefs, Smart was a man who would abduct people and transport them to a world with dinosaurs. All of the leaders had finally arrived, and the pressure was on. The IPF was about to deliver their first introduction speech, and this wasn't just an introduction. It was a benchmark that would determine if the leaders could trust the IPF to work together as a central government and maintain peace within the server.
Welcome everyone, we're the IPF, and welcome to the first of many daily meetings we're going to be holding here. Being the International Peace Federation, we plan to solve problems the peaceful way. No conflict, no arguments, no death, just peaceful back and forth debate. That's us pretty much done, so will the first person on our left please step forward and tell everyone what you're about.
As Mr. Fanny Flutters from the Black Lotus Legion stepped down, I really do want to take one moment to thank our sponsor for making this video possible, Oncehuman. This is one of the best horror games I have genuinely ever seen, and it's now fully released. Oncehuman is a free-to-play, post-apocalyptic, open-world survival game where you can explore a vast, high-quality world, either as a solo or with your friends in co-op mode. The game is filled with weird and terrifying creatures, each with unique abilities and completely different appearances. For instance, you might encounter the walking bus, or the foul shadow hunter. Look at these things, they are genuinely horrible. You can take on challenging dungeon bosses and gather amazing loot. The diverse, scripted events, along with both PvE and PvP experiences, add immense depth to the gameplay. You can capture deviations all over the world by defeating the bosses, challenging dungeons, and even mining. These little creatures may offer you different abilities, like the butterfly deviation, that can provide an auto-attack ability, whereas the hunger hopper boosts combat abilities. Oncehuman is currently one of the most anticipated games on Steam, and trust me, it genuinely lives up to the hype. I've been playing the game myself, and it is amazing. Oncehuman is also completely free to play right now. You can download Oncehuman on Steam using my link below. And don't forget to use my code here to get some amazing special rewards. Go ahead and download it right now on Steam for completely free. Massive thank you again to Oncehuman for making this video possible, and let's get back to the storyline of this event.
Well, how yous going, lads? It's your boy Fanny. I'm part of the Black Lotus Legion.
We are the Jones Vikings, and we're planning to build a little city on the coast.
My name is Noble. I'm the leader of the Big Whales.
My name is Dapper. I am a representative for the Peen team.
Hello, my name is Piggy. I'm part of the family called Dragonhearts.
I am a Father Wulfric of the Church of Smart.
I'm Batman. I'm the owner of Apex Dawn. Right now, we're gonna have a kind of religion on our Gigantopithecus, Monkey God Joe.
Your religion is a bunch of shit.
Hi, I'm Clack. I'm the leader of Her Majesty's Navy.
Many of you may know me. I am Valhazar.
This is my Wayfarer.
Not the real Valhazar.
I'm the leader of Albert's Marauders. We're mercenaries. Anyone wants to hire us, hit me up. We'll work out a deal.
This is Grummy, the leader of the Alcoholic Hitmen. So you can hit us up. We'll deal with any beef.
I can see we have two groups of marauders here, or hitmen. If we have a terrorist or some sort of threat on the server, what's the difference between you two groups? Albert?
Basically, I'm not a failure, so that's what I have over him.
Hello, everyone.
I'm sure you all know me as Shoulder Guy, and I'm going to be doing something very dangerous this event. I'm going to be trying to collect every artifact on this map.
Shoulderman's plan held incredible potential. If he could actually gather all of the artifacts, it would mean that people in this experiment could maybe fight a boss near the end. Also, I could see that nearly every leader in this meeting recognized the International Peace Federation as a central government, showing that they acknowledged the IPF's legitimacy and authority. As the sun rose on day 2, PvP was enabled. And we first go to Apex Dawn, where problems had started to emerge. Apex was governed by an elected council. However, one council member named Batman, along with a few other common people, opposed the peace, as their religion following a monkey named Joe was insulted.
They opposed Monkey God Joe! It's not!
You're like immediately trying to make plans to destroy another tribe?
It would be so easy.
Batman was already bloodthirsty and eager to attack a group known as Winterfell, because Father Wulfric from yesterday's meeting had insulted their religion. For now, the council in Apex had Batman under control, but that might not last, and if it didn't, a civil war could erupt within Apex's tribe. We now move across the map to the first PvP of the server. Near the Alcoholic Hitman's base, some Black Lotus members were out farming, and they were attacked by 2 aggressive Alcoholic members.
We're killing them right now.
This attack, however, was not so successful, because the Black Lotus farming group managed to bowler one attacker, eventually killing him.
Dead.
The other Alcoholic member tried to escape, but was caught by a Black Lotus Therizino, resulting in the first 2 PvP deaths of the experiment. Upon hearing about this skirmish, the leader of the Black Lotus Legion, Fanny Flutters, flew to the IPF to discuss the incident and to propose his idea to stop this from happening ever again.
I wish I came here on a more sociable visit, but we've been attacked by the Alcoholic Hitmen. We're luckily able to defend ourselves and kill the 2 attackers.
After discussing the main incident, Fanny presented his solution to the IPF. He observed that tribes like the Alcoholic Hitmen disregarded the IPF's peace rules due to the lack of significant consequences, and Fanny proposed the IPF should establish a central military group under the IPF's control. He said this force could ensure compliance by demonstrating to non-peaceful groups that defiance from the IPF would result in decisive military action. As Fanny Flutters headed back to his base, the IPF had contacted the Albert's Marauders and Her Majesty's Navy. The IPF recognised that these groups, being small but organised, could effectively cover land, sea and air, while also following the orders of the IPF.
We'd like to hire both your teams to be our militant/militia to enforce any rules we decide.
But like, what's in it for us?
The IPF needed to offer something in return for their military support if they were to join, as these nations might be risking their team's lives in combat that they wouldn't otherwise face.
What if we was to give you some diplomatic leeway in the meetings?
In the heat of the moment, the IPF resorted to a more dubious approach, hoping that they wouldn't abuse the diplomatic leeway.
So you're saying we have a little more leeway with what we can do now, in exchange for helping you guys out?
The agreement was made, and now both the Albert's Marauders and Her Majesty's Navy were seen as being part of the International Peace Federation. We moved to the Albert's Marauder hideout, where Albert had already started contemplating his slight new rise in power under the name of the IPF. Very nearby, however, a small group named Blood Dragons had peacefully set up their base on the cliffside. But Albert was concerned about their proximity. Him and his Marauders decided to have a chat with Blood Dragons and maybe even inspect their base to ensure they posed no future threat to the Marauders.
Guys, listen, we're with the IPF. We're investigating potential ne'er-do-wells. We're gonna need to see the inside of your house.
Can we have like 2 minutes to discuss?
No.
Outnumbered, the Blood Dragons opened the door and allowed a player named Goose inside their base to search. However, Goose found nothing of importance, and Albert seemed to be satisfied with the compliance and announced to them there'd be no further action being taken. The Marauders then got on their PTs and simply left the base. The Blood Dragons did feel, however, that the Marauders were abusing their IPF partnership in order to stick their nose in other people's business without the full consent of people. Piggy, who was the Blood Dragons leader, planned to raise this issue at the next IPF meeting, stating how their group had been really unfairly treated by the Marauders. That's if they could get to the next meeting alive, because the Marauders had turned around.
Get these PTs all grouped up right here.
After blowing up the safety of the base, and in the midst of chaos, members of the Blood Dragons attempted to flee with parachutes and birds. But the Marauders were highly organised and they communicated effectively, managing to track down each and every fleeing player, soon killing all of them. We head over to Her Majesty's Navy, and all was going well. They had tamed many high-level Rexes, set up sniper towers armed with Plant X, and they had even started constructing a metal warship known as the HMS Vengeance.
Should we put a minigun on the top?
Bro, there are 2 miniguns on the bow? That would be sick.
Her Majesty's Navy really did own the seas. They had tamed a high-level Mosasaur and even a Tuso as well. But the Albert's Marauders were on the move, and they had soon arrived at the IPF to meet with someone.
So this meeting's been called to finalize a certain deal relating to a certain tribe. Is that right?
That's right.
It was Batman from Apex Dawn.
While we were going back to base yesterday, Wulfric and his goons threatened my life and to kill our Lord and Savior, Monkey God Joe.
The certain tribe goes by the name Winterfell, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Their religion should be destabilized, if you will.
Do you have any information?
They're located in the snow biome. They're a pretty small tribe.
And what would be our payment?
Payment, we could do a Quetzal.
And when would we be able to get this Quetzal?
Hopefully within the next 2 days.
Batman had defied the orders of the other Apex Council members, and he had hired the Marauders to eradicate Winterfell. As Batman flew back to Apex Dawn, the Marauders soon located Winterfell's exact area, waiting to strike the beginning of a religious massacre. The Marauders' timing was on par. Winterfell was caught by surprise and in the middle of moving their base to a nearby mountain.
They might just be like a very hostile tribe.
The Marauders began to attack. Keeping grouped and well organised, they were tearing through Winterfell's numbers. After many deaths, Father Wulfric and one other survivor hid and then escaped to the IPF, and they arrived just as the daily meeting had began.
The IPF now has a military which uses Her Majesty's Navy and the Albert Marauders.
I am Father Wulfric, the head of the Church of Smart, based in Winterfell. We have been, without provocation, without warning, and without reason, attacked by Albert's domain.
Father Wulfric was poised to expose the Marauders, jeopardizing their image and the IPF's reliability. In this situation, the IPF would be in an absolute stalemate. Everyone in the meeting already knew that the Marauders were part of the IPF's new military. And now that the Marauders had just slaughtered an entire tribe, the IPF would either be forced to kick Albert out of the IPF and risk a Marauder retaliation, or try to cover the Winterfell genocide that had just occurred. The IPF decided to go with the second option and stick with the Marauders by brushing off the attack as something that would never happen again, as now they're part of the IPF. I welcome the one, the only, Shoulder Man. He had been very busy working to collect the artifacts.
Hello everyone. So, an update on the artifacts. I've collected 2 out of 11 of them.
Shoulderman had also hired another player named Danuli to help him on his conquest to eventually fight the boss, and that is the end of day 2.
I am Shoulder Man, and I am working the hardest to make sure we get all these artifacts.
It's now day 3, and we visit the Silly Pirates. They had constructed a mighty church, and this is because yesterday night, after the IPF meeting, the Silly Pirates had actually accepted Father Wulfric as a refugee, and they vowed to follow his religion out of respect for the entire death of Winterfell.
I am a priest, I am not a hostile man. I wish to build churches and pray the Lord.
We moved to a new group, named the Peen News Network. They had set up in the middle of the map, and their aim was to release articles on what happens during each day. They were also incredibly out of the way, so there was a very small chance they would collide with any other nations. They would pretty much remain untouched. However, Albert from the Marauders had requested a private meeting with Clack Knight from Her Majesty's Navy. This meeting took place because Albert was not happy with the IPF still having some control over his own decisions.
Me and you were the enforcement arm of the IPF, but what I think the IPF has failed to realize is they have nothing above our heads. I think if me and your tribe, if we work together, we have the ability to take over the IPF.
I think a peaceful takeover, as it were, would work, but the IPF, they wouldn't go quietly.
What are they gonna do? We don't even have to lay a finger on him. It's like an old man. You kind of just put him in the corner and let him talk and babble by himself. He thinks he's important, but we're the ones making the calls.
Clack had agreed to back up the Marauders if needed, but he was still quite skeptical of what Albert had planned for the future. Over at the IPF, I had asked Swanky what his plan was after yesterday's events.
Well, Wulfric's exposed Albert to everyone at the meeting. Well, it's now clearly been seen that we're involved with the violence. We need to divert the tension from us, so I think maybe we should recruit a third party, which could help us get people off our back.
Recruiting a third party was a very interesting plan, as that person could be seen by the people as an independent mediator instead of the IPF themselves.
Let's bring him in and shift the focus off us for a bit, you know what I mean?
Swanky had made a decision, and he decided to contact Mr. Fanny Flutters to join the IPF, as they previously liked Flutters' cooperation and ideas about the military. Over at the City Pirates base, Big Nut, for no reason at all, managed to get inside their base and run under the church, where above, Father Wulfric was holding a hearing. He then placed C4 and blew open the church floor.
We've been attacked! The church has been attacked! Those bastards!
While Big Nut was escaping, Father Wulfric followed him out to PvP, but Wulfric is not a skilled fighter.
I need help! Guys! Right side of the base! Right side of the base!
And he was soon bowled by Big Nut. But hope was not lost. The leader of Silly Pirates, Noble Wolf, had made an urgent distress call to the IPF.
Big Nut is attacking us right now, but send the military, please!
The IPF saw this call for help as the perfect chance to restore their own image, as well as the Marauders.
What are their cords?
84 long.
The Marauders were already nearby, and now they were on the way. This could be the chance to save innocent lives, as well as fixing the trust issues that other nations have with the IPF.
Don't try to be the hero.
I'm one hit from death. I'm dead.
The Marauders had arrived just as Big Nut had killed Father Wulfric. Big Nut then started to run away, and Albert simply couldn't find him.
Tear them to pieces!
Tear them apart! Wait, what the hell? What the hell?
Keep C-spinning, bro. Keep C-spinning.
Passive, 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 passive! He's attacking us!
They had started attacking the Silly Pirates after being sent here by the IPF to originally help them.
Get inside!
The Silly Pirates ran in the church for safety, but the Marauders started committing war crimes, blowing up the church and killing innocent people.
They're in the church. We got a runner! We got a runner! Albert does what he wants!
Why would Albert destroy his chance to restore the IPF's image and his own? Well, actually, it's because Albert now had full control over the IPF. The Marauders had now forced the IPF's hand into one of only two options. The first option is the IPF could expel the Marauders, appearing incompetent to the people and losing all legitimacy. This would mean that the IPF would make enemies of the Marauders and Her Majesty's Navy, and because no one would see the IPF as legitimate, they wouldn't help in assisting the defense. Option number two is the IPF could back the Marauders and Albert, but in doing that they would be digging a deeper hole for themselves and cementing the fact that Albert could now do whatever he wanted, with the IPF's full support, giving him complete control over the IPF.
Mr. Fanny Flutters, as the International Peace Federation, we've been thinking about this for a long time. I would like to pass what we're offering over to Swanky.
The IPF likes your stand, and we would like to offer you a position on the Council of the IPF.
I would graciously accept your position, thank you very much.
And after Fanny agreed and accepted the position, he was not sure of what he was actually getting himself into. Fanny would be the new face of the International Peace Federation. And while Swanky and Powerpoof and some others would guide him in the background of meetings, they would be trying to tell him what to say and making sure he didn't mess up.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah, you don't have to sit with us peasants anymore.
Look at this, all ye plebs. Get out of my chair, Swanky.
Anyway, as Mr. Fanny Flutters got his starting speech ready, Albert nervously waited.
Welcome everyone to the IPF meeting. We have a lot to discuss, as quite a lot has taken place since we last spoke.
And this was about to go worse than expected, because the leader of Silly Pirates, Noble Wolf, had escaped the slaughter, and he had already stepped down onto the podium, meaning he's the first to talk. Albert's war crimes were about to be exposed to the entire server, in front of all of the leaders.
Albert's marauders showed up, and were like waving him down to like, hey, come on down if you guys want to look around. And
he's already lying.
Then they started attacking us. I said hi.
Silence!
I could sense Albert and the IPF starting to seriously stress on what they would say.
Then they just proceeded to kill all of us.
These are some bold accusations from the Silly Pirates. Albert, do you have anything to say in your
defense? In the time Noble was speaking, Albert had thought of a lie, and it was genuinely pretty decent.
So we were sent out to Silly Pirates base because we were told Big Nut's there. Let's go get the guy. That's our job. Look at beautiful, lovely Pounder here. Pounder was shot in the head multiple times, and his helmet broke. So what do? We defend ourselves. We have people on the floor. They're shooting us. We go down there. We do what had to be done.
I have evidence. You guys want me to find the clip? I will, and I will share that moment.
Noble having evidence just changed the game. Albert had to think of something. They had to stop Noble sharing his evidence at all costs.
Let me pull up the video.
Albert has... Hang on now, please. Please, let me review the footage.
Fanny was then coerced to play very defensively and lie about evidence from Albert that doesn't even exist.
From the evidence that I've been given, they hit poor Palander's head, who was coming to your aid, might I add. And it is very clear that Palander's helmet has been shot and broken off.
The lie had worked so well that Noble had him questioning himself.
There was a moment before all this stuff happened, before they showed up.
You saw the ghost.
I heard two gunshots from my player Busher. We were on high alert.
But you just admit that you had heard two gunshots and you had seemingly
from
the evidence that I have been excuse me.
What kind of operation are you running here? Someone shoots someone you don't know.
Might I add, you withheld
because we were on high alert because.
But you decided to withhold the information to save your own skin from being incriminated.
And this made the situation for Noble even worse. The audience was siding with the IPF. Fanny and the IPF had just saved the Albert's Marauders, and Fanny decided it was time to completely change the topic before Noble could show any proof.
We have other issues to discuss here. I believe that the Albert Marauders were justified in defending themselves. Can we all agree that Big Nut is the root of all these problems? He has caused all this chaos. He is the #1 thing that is keeping us from being peaceful and united. He's the #1 problem we are currently facing in the entire state. I'd like to formally announce the beginning of a manhunt for the terrorist known as Big Nut.
The illusion of Big Nut being the server's top enemy succeeded, completely preventing Noble Wolf from sharing his evidence. Meanwhile, the one, the only, Shoulder Man was collecting artifacts. Now if you think Shoulder Man is going to manage to get all of the artifacts and maybe the people in this event can fight the boss at the end, please comment below. And also please do subscribe, because if you do, I'm going to be pumping out a lot more of these videos, and yes, the lore and the storyline is going to be much, much better. Welcome to the start of day 4, and today something was brewing. Some of the smaller tribes in the meeting yesterday caught on to the IPF's corruption.
No, it's not right, they're doing something. There's
I think someone inside of there is pulling strings.
When Noble Wolf, as much as I dislike him, said, I have the proof, here's what I have in my videos, instantly without viewing anything, the IPF sided with the Marauders. You see, they want peace, but like, we've seen them multiple times backing people like the Marauders with violence.
Have you noticed how much of a push there are on the whole we gotta get rid of Big Nut type thing? It's like, it's almost as if it's like a distraction.
You know, when that whole Noble issue was going on, Fanny was like, let's leave this, move on, yeah, we've spoke about this enough, when like it wasn't even finalised yet. And they was like, oh, whatever, let's, move this to the side, focus on Big Nut.
This little meeting had now turned into a full-on coalition, named the Coalition of Justice. It involved the Alcoholic Hitmen, the P News Network, and the Black Lotus Legion, and their aim would be to stop the IPF and their military in their tracks by exposing the truth. But for this coalition to work, they needed more numbers. The IPF was a strong force, and they needed to recruit more people to the alliance. I welcome you to Jom's Vikings, a secluded Norseman tribe in the middle of the Redwoods, close to the Marauders and Apex Dawn. The Coalition of Justice aimed to recruit Jom's Vikings during the next meeting into the coalition. They also wanted to recruit Apex Dawn, which had now become a massive military force with huge dominance over the map. Apex was not only one of the biggest tribes, but they were the most organized large tribe, meaning they had serious supreme power. Swaying Apex from the Coalition to the IPF would be a massive decider for the outcome of this event. The Coalition of Justice also really wanted Wayfarers, and Wayfarers had almost zero ties to the IPF, meaning it's pretty reasonable they might be able to recruit them. However, there's one problem with this coalition. It is always risky recruiting so many tribes and contacting so many people. There were bound to be rats lurking in the shadows. Day 4 was a short day, and it was now time for the IPF meeting. And Albert was again one step ahead.
Friends and lovers of peace, please lend me your ears. There is a conspiracy afoot. A group of men, like ravenous dogs, seek to tear and feast upon the body of peace that we hold so dear. These men have laid out plans to wage war against us, and they have even made plans to suicide bomb these very halls we are standing in today. How long will we let these men test our patience?
Oh my god.
These men seek to bring war upon this land and sacrifice your lives in their endless seas for conquest.
Well, I can only ensure this as a conspiracy theory in which some people
proof.
like to believe in because they have nothing else
I have
left
proof.
to believe
Hang on,
Let him
please, leave Albert finish, you will have a chance to speak.
They have been attempting to recruit the people in these very halls to stand with them in their rotten cause. Do not join the senseless war they seek to start. Any individual that defects from their coalition or resists their bloodlust will be supported by the utmost of the IPF. Of this we are certain. Do not throw your lives away for their stupid little power grab.
Someone within the coalition had leaked the information to Albert. They had put the coalition into defensive mode, instead of talking about the truth of the IPF. It was now a war on who could win over the liking of Apex, Wayfarers, and Jom's Vikings.
I firstly want to state that Mr. Albert over here is lying. We are trying to create a coalition to bring peace, because to us the IPF has not created that. It's more concocted violence.
But again, Albert was a step ahead. He had texted the IPF and they needed Apex on their side. Albert had been hired by Apex previously to attack Winterfell, so all they needed was some little thing to tip Apex over the edge. And the IPF had a solution. One of the members of the IPF had flown over to Apex's base and changed their tribe name to the Alcoholic Hitmen. This member had then begun shooting rockets at Apex's base, and he waited before he was followed by PTs. After Apex realized they were being rocketed, they started spyglassing this member to find out what tribe he was in, and they saw the name Alcoholic Hitmen with a 1 on the end. Now they didn't notice that 1. All they thought was, Alcoholic Hitmen is attacking us. The IPF had just framed the coalition and won over Apex in the meeting. This was a big game changer, and now Master Lorax, a high up member in the Council of Apex, stood straight next to Albert in his negotiations.
Okay, I'm gonna explain, and this is a direct quote. Okay, I'm gonna explain more tomorrow, but the current plan is that we will do 3 days of peace, unless the IPF tries to pull something, then if we can't accomplish anything. At day 4, we will rally the troops, and day 5, we have a showdown. What exactly does that mean to you?
Get him, Albert. That's exactly.
I can tell you now that's a false accusation.
It almost feels like you're twisting the words in order to make us look bad.
The coalition was getting incredibly stressed, and they were losing the trust of the people. But maybe they could retain their relationship with Jom's Vikings and Wayfarers.
So what I believe we have here is, within your own coalition, ye have someone that is trying to feed us information that is incriminating ye and making ye seem like a less peaceful organization than ye are trying to present yourselves as, by taking things and out of context and delivering us false information. I believe that Albert has been given information leaked from your coalition to make ye look bad.
But for some reason, Fanny Flutters undermined the Marauders, and the Marauders were not going to stand by and let this happen.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Go! It's gonna be big now. It's gonna be big. What the fuck?
The Marauders had just rocketed the IPF, sending a clear warning to never speak bad upon Albert's name, while also stopping the meeting before the coalition could get any other words in. The truth was being held back, and they were not allowing it to be spread. We start day 5, and the Marauders were on a mission to destroy the Archolic Hitmen's base and try and break up the coalition as best they could. They loaded their tames and supplies onto a purpose-built raft equipped with Plant X species for automatic defense. They would use this Plant X raft to in the fight create a safe zone in which no other enemy players could enter inside of. The Marauders began their attack. They brought Thycolios, and they used these to eliminate any Archolic ground tames, as well as rocketing in any blockages that were on the ground. Now, the Hitmen's base was on a massive rock, meaning it posed a serious problem for how the Marauders would even be able to raid it. And even worse, the outside of the Archolic Hitmen's base was covered in Plant X, making it impossible for Thycolios to climb up. The only way to access that base would be flyers. Now, in no way did the Hitmen plan to leave their base. They would simply stay in there the entire time and defend by just sniping at the Marauders. They had pretty much no reason to leave, and they were in a reasonably good situation. The Hitmen aimed to engage in a war of attrition, leveraging their easier access to supplies and repairs, seeing as they had their entire base there. But not all was well for the Marauders, because they were starting to face a shortage of rockets, and they needed rockets to attack the upper section. There was simply no other way to take down the Archolic's base if they didn't have RPGs. At the most critical moment, Albert had contacted the International Peace Federation, and they had contacted Her Majesty's Navy. The Navy began heading out on the HMS Vengeance, and they were filled with supplies. The HMS Vengeance had arrived, and when the Archolic Hitmen saw this thing, it absolutely shattered their minds. The Navy gave the Marauders an additional 30 rockets, allowing the Marauders to press their advantage as fast as possible. They began flying up the base of Archolic Hitmen with PTs, and then shooting rockets down upon them, and it was not long before they could take out enough Plant X to eventually breach the base and start killing all of the Archolic Hitmen members. This was the end of the Archolic Hitmen. Meanwhile, at Apex's base, members of the group were hatching new Giga Eggs next to the one and only Monkey God Joe. Apex still appeared as one of the most powerful tribes in the server, but somehow they had managed to avoid any major confrontations with any other tribes, and they were just sitting here peacefully. The Wayfarers had completed their church and raised a formidable army of Spinos, Rexes, and Gigas, becoming a significant force. And tribes would now have to be cautious because if they mess with the Wayfarers, there could be serious consequences. The IPF had called for a peace meeting.
Everybody settle down, we've lots of matters to discuss. I think we should go around the floor and see what everyone has been up to and what has happened, and try and piece together some of the chaotic events of today.
Yes, recently we confronted the Archolic Hitmen for harboring terrorists at their base. They cowered like dogs. We came in, killed them, and raided their base.
But doubts about their influence grew as they couldn't maintain the promised peace. There was one player that was in the original Coalition of Justice, and he was for some reason allowed in the IPF to speak. His name was George, and he emerged as a significant threat to the IPF.
My name is George, I'm part of the revolution. I'd firstly like to state the lies that the IPF is spreading, but it's not just the IPF, there's people behind it, and it's pretty obvious, there's strings being pulled. I want to firstly start with the Albert's Marauders. They're not the heroes you think they are. The thing is, right, the Albert's Marauders have been changing their names. They've been framing people in the server to start wars. Yesterday, they framed the Archolic Hitmen, and they attacked Apex Dawn with the tribe name Archolic Hitmen. These IPF members don't seem so innocent anymore. They've been pulling strings, they've been starting wars, they preach for peace but cause violence. It doesn't make sense.
We go to the one, the only...
Shoulder guy, my quest for the artifacts has gone very well. I need one. There's one left.
This man and his teammate Danuli were on an absolute roll.
This will be like a nice cinematic as well.
And they were maybe going to give everyone in this experiment the chance to fight the boss on the last day. But we would just have to wait and see. Anyway, this brings us to the end of Day 5.
Keep running, Denoli, just keep running. Stand fucking thighs. You stand quads.
And once again, the Albert's Marauders had launched another attack in hopes of defeating the Coalition. This attack was on the base of the Black Lotus Legion. The Marauders began the attack on the shoreline, where they used miniguns and rockets to try and shoot down the main defensive walls and spikes of the Black Lotus Legion's base. It wasn't long before the Marauders quickly overwhelmed the men on the ground, and they managed to breach the main gates. Chaos erupted as Lycolios from the Marauders ran through the main gates and started killing the Black Lotus Legion players. The Legion used passive dinos to try and soak bullets from the miniguns that were being fired at them. One brave member from the Legion got on a rhino and started trying to attack the Albert's Marauders as much as he could, but it wouldn't be long before he was soon hunted down and killed. This attack continued for many minutes, and it wasn't long before Her Majesty's Navy was called in for backup. This time, Her Majesty's Navy would arrive with much more numbers. They called in nearly their entire tribe. They arrived with the HMS Vengeance, the HMS Invictus, Atuso, and Spinos. The HMS's main aim here was to be an intimidation factor and a backup for the Marauders. When Her Majesty's Navy arrived, they went straight into the bay of the fight, and they simply sat there, shooting rockets, sniping any Lotus Legion members that were out in the open. The Marauders kept pushing through the walls of the Legion, and eventually they managed to force their way nearly all of the way in. They had killed about 3/4 of the members that were in Black Lotus Legion, and this meant that a small surviving group split off around the back of the base, and they literally ran away to the mainland, completely slipping past HMS's groups and the Marauders groups. There's also some random dude that just pulled up on the Navy with a wooden, pirate ship thingy. And, well, the Navy's gonna disintegrate him. Oh my... This man just got disintegrated by an entire English Navy on his little wooden pirate ship. Big Nut was spotted at the Legion's base. Big Nut was parachuting into the water, and when he got in the water, he was jumped by the Marauders and the Navy, and one of the Her Majesty's Navy's Spinos managed to kill him. After the IPF heard about the death of Big Nut, they were absolutely ecstatic, and this boosted the morale for the Marauders and the Navy. Main driver, the IPF. The Navy had brought over a Karcher, which would be used to meat run any remaining Thames that the Legion had, meaning if any of the escapees came back, they would have nothing to use to help them get back on their feet. In a move of desperation, there was one member from the Legion that was still in the proximity, and he had whistled every single Thame on aggressive, trying to do one last push of resistance against the IPF. The Coalition was simply falling apart. And this is the end of Day 6. Day 7 began at the IPF headquarters, but instead of a meeting, they faced an attack. 2 members of the Black Lotus Legion that survived from yesterday, whose home had been completely destroyed and their friends massacred, retaliated by attacking the IPF's grand meeting hall with salvaged materials. The IPF, initially absent while farming resources, quickly mounted their birds and engaged the attackers.
Our structures are getting destroyed back at the IPF building.
The IPF, initially absent while farming resources, quickly mounted their birds and engaged the attackers.
We gotta head back to the IPF building. We're getting attacked back there.
Right now.
Massively overpowered, the Black Lotus members attempted to flee, but they were soon hunted down, trapped, and killed by the IPF.
I placed the cage on one. I placed the cage on one right here, on this pillar.
But they were soon hunted down, trapped, and killed by the IPF. This was the end of the Coalition. And just before another attack had started, Her Majesty's Navy called for a general meeting.
So I've called this meeting because of the amount of violence and warfare that has been going on. It's unjustified and illegal warfare. This attack by Albert's Marauders and high-ranking officials of the IPF can and will not stand if immediate change is not made. We will be resigning from the IPF and will stand down unless this change is made. We believe that Fanny should be put in charge overall and that the coalition should be dissolved.
Albert's Mortis here. You're wrong. You're just wrong. You're wrong.
No pants from Black Lotus. Well, yes, I have attended every coalition meeting that there was. I have made no moves, nor has my people, to aid the coalition. Now, as our group who is already fighting off multiple groups of people, am I going to start a war with the third person?
We believe that the IPF High Council should stand down and be replaced by Fanny. I think we can all agree that Big Nut's death is not sad for anyone here. Is that correct?
I believe he doesn't have a grave. I think he was eaten by a Tuso, so...
We don't have time to make meetings for every thing that happens on the server, especially with the bombings we've had at our meeting. We're risking our own safety at that point. Just before this meeting, the whole IPF building has pretty much been destroyed.
The High Council of the IPF will not stand down. We stand by Albert Marauders. We understand that the war may seem unjustified, but we've got information and we acted. We're not willing to waste time and potentially letting him escape. We succeeded in the goal of killing Big Nut and subjected the tribe of Black Lotus.
We couldn't or weren't able to bury Daisy, the member we lost, and maybe we could get a shrine or a small grave for her as payback.
With the cost of living, we can't really afford to like buy her.
Goose, shut up. Sit down.
We can give you a wooden sign.
Goose, shut the fuck up.
We gave Albert a wooden sign.
Sit down.
I believe that the IPF's values still hold true. Ever since I joined the IPF, my fellow council members have been nothing but enthusiastic and energetic about helping everyone on the server. I believe that since I joined, these attacks and chaos throughout the lands has increased. I feel that it's because my presence from an outside entity, I feel my presence is not welcomed or wanted, and because of that, I don't think I can be an effective leader in peace while I'm here at this moment in time.
Shoulder Guy here. I assure a few you know, but just to remind you, I have collected all of the artifacts. They are in my safe possession.
Put them in your bum.
From now on, peace will reign between everyone. If you have disputes, you will come to the Vengeance, and I will personally be the neutral party there and discuss it with both parties. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
That's fair.
So, tomorrow, I would assume we would do the boss fight. I'll be going to each available tribe and asking for maybe 1 or 2 members and a few tames. We are allowed to have 10 players and 20 tames go into the boss fight. So basically when I ask, bring your best tames, bring your best weapons, and we can go fucking shoot a spider in a mountain.
The question remains, would they defeat the bosses, or would they all die? Let's find out on day 8, the final day. Welcome to day 8, the final day of the experiment. And today begins with Smithy and Danuli, who had managed to achieve the impossible by collecting every artifact on the center. For the first time in Mr. Smart Guy history, there's a chance for peace and unity among the players. However, whether they can accomplish this monumental challenge in defeating the boss remains uncertain. They were doing the Gamma Boss, and there was a limit of 10 players. Smithy and Danuli said 1 player from each team could join them in the arena. Each of the tribes nominated their players, and they began to stand in the middle of Blue Obelisk. As the players loaded into the fight, they quickly mounted their tames and charged at the Broodmother, shredding through her health and killing her in seconds with minimal casualties. They then turned to the Megapithecus, expecting a similar result. However, they soon started losing tames rapidly. Despite the unexpected difficulty, the players persevered, attacking the boss from the front lines and dealing damage from a distance with snipers and shotguns. Slowly, they chipped away at its health, and with only 1 dinosaur left, just as hope seemed lost, the beast was killed. And the players had just made event history, all thanks to Smithy's dream 8 days ago. After being teleported out of the arena, players rushed back to their bases to share the news, and Smithy was summoned by the IPF to report the events of what had happened in the arena to Kermit and Emre, 2 of the IPF's background members.
Smithy. From the IPF today, we are here. Me, Emre, and Beef are here to congratulate you on your very courageous journey that no one really believed was possible. You went around to all of the artifacts.
Yeah, like, hell, it was a fucking adventure. Those caves are no joke. I did it. People said I couldn't do it, but I proved them all wrong and I did it, and I got the element.
I honestly, to myself, can only say one thing. The element that you have, I don't think the IPF can really allow you to have that.
However, the remaining IPF members had set a trap. They had knocked out and stole the element from Smithy's body.
I don't. The IPF can allow that.
I got this. I got this element. I got all the artifacts. You're snakes. I hate you. Lying. This whole weapon. I should have never came here. I hate myself listening to you. I really do. You're actually twat.
But this didn't go unnoticed. Clack had followed Smithy back to the IPF, but he was too late. Smithy was already dead. And after shooting a rocket, he fled to inform the rest of the server what the remaining IPF players had just done.
Guys, can everyone here get on birds, get on RGs, get on whatever, head to Blue Ob. We're all going to unite and attack the IPF right now.
In less than 24 hours after the peace treaty on the HMS Vengeance, the IPF had broken the peace and returned to their old ways, corrupted by the once marauders. After Clack had informed the entire server of the absolute utter disgrace, they all decided to meet at Blue Obelisk, once enemies, now united together in hopes of defeating the IPF, the International Peace Federation. The entire server set off. They would hunt down the remaining IPF players at any cost possible. They rained missiles on the players, shredding it. The IPF, outnumbered and outgunned, began fleeing in hopes of escaping with the element they once stole from Smithy. With only 2 rockets, the meeting hall was no more.
Oh my god, they've just blown everything up.
Down parachute, maybe I can come pick you.
Yeah, jump off the island. Whistle neutral.
I whistled neutral, I'm flying.
Powerpoof and Swanky Orc, that were once coerced by Albert and his corrupt ways, decided they could not live with it. Something amazing had happened. The Wayfarers had invited all remaining members to their completely undamaged and untouched base for one final party. All of the teams agreed and gathered in their massive great hall.
Welcome everyone to the church that we built. As you know, Wayfarers as a whole, we haven't done a lot. We've been very secluded and we've just kind of kept to ourselves, let all you lot fight and wipe each other out.
I am Malik, videos of Marauders. I am the only current member that is left.
And finally, Classic, who was one of the Wayfarers' top officials, stood up to speak.
As I said at the beginning, we were a band of misfits who were just sitting in voice chat 1 and decided to form a tribe together. And we've been thinking, what's a way we could easily get everyone in one space? Yep. Everyone called pathetic. We'll show you.
I knew I was gonna. Let's fuck him up.
I would like to say thank you to all players that participated in this event, thank you to everyone that helped with this video, and a massive thank you to OnceHuman for sponsoring this video. Go ahead and join, we have an event upcoming very soon, and it is going to be better than ever.